Imagine walking into a Renaissance church or palace for the very first time. Your eyes immediately lift upward, pulled not just by the grandeur of the architecture but by the stories painted across the walls and ceilings. At first glance, these frescoes might appear as simply religious or historical depictions, carefully crafted with vibrant colors and impressive detail. But if you pause, if you truly look closely, you realize these frescoes are not just paintings, they are coded messages, filled with hidden symbols, subtle references, and layers of meaning that were meant to be understood only by those who knew how to read them. The Renaissance was not just a rebirth of classical art, it was also a playground of ideas, where artists, patrons, and scholars infused every detail with meaning. Frescoes became the perfect medium for these hidden stories, because they surrounded viewers, covering walls, ceilings, domes, with narratives that felt both divine and deeply human. And today, we're diving into some of the most fascinating secrets that Renaissance frescoes still hold, centuries later. Take the Sistine Chapel in Vatican City. Most people remember Michelangelo's ceiling fresco for its iconic image of God reaching out to touch the hand of Adam. But look closer, behind God, wrapped in that flowing cloak, is a group of angels in a curious shape that has puzzled historians for centuries. In the 1990s, some doctors and anatomists noticed something striking. The outline of that cloak matches the human brain, down to the folds of the cerebral cortex. Could it be that Michelangelo, who secretly studied anatomy against church law, embedded a symbolic brain behind God, suggesting that divine spark is also the gift of human intellect? If true, it's a daring, even dangerous message, hidden right above the heads of the most powerful clerics of the 16th century. And Michelangelo wasn't the only one hiding bold ideas. Consider the frescoes of Giotto in the Scrovegni Chapel in Padua. At first, they seem like simple biblical stories, painted with extraordinary emotional realism. But Giotto was a master of subtle storytelling. Look at his depiction of Judas betraying Jesus with a kiss. Judas' yellow cloak wraps around Christ, forming a visual trap, and in the background, almost hidden, is a soldier raising a hand, foreshadowing the violence to come. It's not just a biblical moment, it's a psychological one, filled with warning signs. Giotto was giving his viewers more than a story, he was giving them an emotional roadmap. Then there's Raphael, whose frescoes in the Vatican's Raphael rooms are filled with classical references and symbols. The School of Athens is the most famous, with its gathering of philosophers in a grand architectural space. But hidden in this crowd are secret portraits. Plato, he looks suspiciously like Leonardo da Vinci. Heraclitus, many believe that's Michelangelo, painted in brooding solitude. Raphael turned his fresco into a kind of intellectual game, a puzzle of faces where viewers could recognize the great minds of the Renaissance disguised as ancient philosophers. It was a way of linking past and present, showing that the thinkers of Raphael's time were the heirs of classical wisdom. But the hidden stories weren't always about intellectual pride, they could also be deeply political. In Florence, inside the Palazzo Vecchio, the grand hall known as the Salone dei Cinquecento holds traces of one of the greatest artistic mysteries of all time. On its walls, Giorgio Vasari painted massive battle scenes, but in one corner, almost invisible unless you know where to look, are the tiny words "Cerca trova," Italian for "seek and you shall find." Why is this important? Because beneath Vasari's fresco, many believe, lies a lost masterpiece by Leonardo da Vinci, the Battle of Anghiari. Did Vasari, knowing he was painting over Leonardo, leave behind a secret message to future generations? Seek and you shall find. If true, it is perhaps the most audacious act of artistic rebellion hidden in plain sight. Symbolism in Renaissance frescoes could also be deeply personal. In Masaccio's Holy Trinity in Florence's Santa Maria Novella, we see a breathtaking illusion of depth, as if the chapel wall opens into another space. At the bottom, a skeleton lies in a tomb, painted with the words, "I was what you are, and what I am you will be," a chilling reminder of mortality. Painted directly beneath the serene image of Christ, the message, salvation is promised, but death is unavoidable. The entire fresco is not just an image, it's a meditation, a silent sermon, written in pigment and plaster. And then there are frescoes like those in the Palazzo Schifanoia in Ferrara. These might seem decorative at first glance, filled with zodiac signs, allegorical figures, and courtly processions, but they are actually a visual code, blending astrology, mythology, and politics. Each month's fresco combines pagan gods with the ruling family's symbols, suggesting not only the divine order of the universe but also the rightful place of the Este family at its center. Imagine standing in that hall, surrounded by zodiac cycles and mythological figures, realizing that the fresco itself is telling you, this family rules by cosmic design. Even outside Italy, Renaissance frescoes carried hidden meanings. In France, at the Château de Fontainebleau, the walls bloom with mythological scenes painted by Rosso Fiorentino and his team. To a casual viewer, they're just lush and exotic, but in reality, they were crafted as coded allegories of King Francis I's power, wisdom, and even love life. Court visitors, depending on their knowledge, could read these frescoes as flattering commentaries on the king's rule, while outsiders might miss the message entirely. Perhaps one of the most powerful aspects of these hidden stories is how they made frescoes multi-layered experiences. A peasant walking into a chapel could simply admire the colors and the storytelling, but a scholar, a noble, or even a rival artist could look deeper, uncovering allegories, references, even jokes tucked into the paint. Frescoes were not just for decoration, they were conversations across time, meant to be unraveled piece by piece. And think about this. These artists worked knowing that most people would never notice these details. They risked censorship, scandal, even punishment to hide their messages. Michelangelo had to paint in secrecy to study human anatomy. Vasari may have risked his reputation to hint at Leonardo's lost masterpiece. These weren't accidents, they were intentional acts of defiance, wit, and brilliance. As we explore Renaissance frescoes today, armed with digital imaging, restorations, and centuries of scholarship, we are still uncovering secrets. What else might lie hidden under layers of paint? What other symbols have we missed, simply because we don't look closely enough? Perhaps that's the greatest legacy of these frescoes. They invite us to slow down, to look carefully, to search for meaning beyond the surface. So the next time you find yourself standing beneath a Renaissance fresco, in Rome, Florence, Padua, or Ferrara, remember, you're not just looking at art, you're standing inside a code, a story, a layered tapestry of faith, politics, intellect, and mystery. And if you look long enough, if you open your mind, you might just discover a hidden story that's been waiting centuries for you to uncover. If you enjoyed watching, be sure to hit that like button. It truly makes a difference for the channel. Pass this video along to a friend who enjoys a great mystery. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that so you don't miss what's coming next. There's still so much to explore, and I'd love to have you join me for it.